What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA Show, powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and I'm joined by the international man of mystery from Limoges, France, Tim Legler.
What's happening, man? You enjoying these games or what?
Some of them. I think the difficulty of having to find them on, he's of course talking about EuroBasket, of finding them on the streaming app and all those different things is a little bit of a challenge. But I watched some good ones. I mean, I am definitely into it. There's some games, and we're going to talk about a couple that I just thought were pretty interesting. What about you?
Well, can I ask you a question first? Are you guys having any issue with this app? Okay. But you have to watch them on. Because
not really.
That's the only way you can watch them, right? Unless, am I mistaken? Isn't that the only way you can watch them?
The only way is that courtside 1891 app. Yep, that's the only way. But I haven't had issues.
Well, here's been I've been having the same problem over and over. And I've been only doing it on my iPad because I was traveling. So I was kind of, I didn't have to have my laptop with me. So here's what was happening to me repeatedly. I'd find the game, hit the game, play. The game would be playing live. And then if I paused it, the sound would continue even though the action stopped.
Oh, that's annoying.
And then when you would go to play it again, both the sound that was now ahead of the action was playing as well as the real-time sound. So you were hearing the same call. And the only way to stop it was to completely close out of the app and then restart it again and then hit that game. And then it'd be fine when you first turned it on. So as long as you didn't pause it or something, you were okay. I don't know. I've had a lot of problems with the app. Let me just put that out there. But I was able to still see enough of the games yesterday and a couple games today as well.
So I love this because we were talking a little bit earlier, and I am into it. I mean, you know this. I get into EuroBasket. I like the storylines. I like the rivalries. I think the basketball's pretty decent for the most part, although you get some laughers. And I know you were getting frustrated a little bit. Now I see why. It's the app. It's the app more than anything else.
No, it's 100%. I just want to turn it on and watch it, man. You know, I guess I'm spoiled by my league pass and how seamless that is for me and everything. So yeah, I was able to figure out a way to get it done. And to your point, what you just made, I think the one thing that stands out right away when you watch these kind of tournaments is how much it means to the fans.
Yes.
Especially the fans. The crowd reactions. And they have I will give them this, they have some really cool camera shots that take place and how close they are to the crowd and stuff. It's different than what you see a lot of times in NBA games. They do these really cool things from a production standpoint I've always seen it for years and years with World Cup soccer and stuff. You always see it during that if you're going to watch that, and you're seeing it in this. So, and then you can really see the angst that these people are carrying around, how much this means to them. And a lot of times, Adam, there are rivalries just like the NBA. There are rivalries between countries. And you can see that too. And you saw a little bit of that today. You saw how much, particularly in that game I watched with Italy and Spain, how much that meant to the Italian coaching staff in particular. And it's that's the cool part of it, man. Cause it's, in the NBA, even in the playoffs, even in the finals, you don't see coaches until it's over, typically with that level of emotion, with these guys, here you are, and it's just a pool game. It's not even you haven't advanced to the semis or finals, and you could see the way they wear it on their sleeve, how much goes into this and how much these international tournaments mean, particularly one that doesn't have the United States in it, so it's this is
I think that makes it even more so though, Legs, because the US is there. It's okay, it's a dream. can we upset them? But now it's like, hey, who's the best of the rest? And I know it's
Right.
just Europe. I'm not trying to insult, South America, Asia, any of those countries, but it is sort of like this is the chance to kind of prove, on that stage. And I love you mentioned because there are, and I'll tell you this with full confidence. I made the documentary about the history of basketball in Serbia. I visited Serbia. I talk to people all the time, from that region, Croatia, Bosnia. They all say the same thing, that if forced to choose between winning a EuroBasket gold or an NBA championship with their favorite player, they would take the EuroBasket gold over that. So you have these fans that,
No doubt.
yes, the passion is real, and their favorite sports memories come from the EuroBasket or from FIBA and the Olympics, but EuroBasket in particular. And so the passion, when you watch it, you kind of go, oh, wow, this feels like a little summer tournament some guys are doing. No, this is the event for a lot of fans in Europe, and even for a lot of players. They know, they grew up saying, I want to win a EuroBasket gold. And I think that's what makes it fun.
And like 95% of these guys, Adam, this is the biggest stage they're going to play on.
Yeah,
There are obviously NBA players sprinkled throughout this tournament. Some teams have multiple NBA players. Those guys have something else and something, and when I say bigger stage, even to some of those guys that are very accomplished NBA players, sometimes I feel like this even means more to them playing with these guys, like this group of guys,
totally.
their fellow countrymen trying to win something like this for their country, because you become immortal in those countries if you're able to do something like that. But at the same time, if you do lose, you do come up short, your team doesn't play very well, you don't have enough talent, whatever it may be, there are guys on these rosters that are going to go on then and, have really good NBA seasons. And then that's a whole nother level and a whole nother thing. For most of these guys, this is as big as it gets. And you can see it when they're playing, like you feel what they're feeling. And I think that's what makes the whole thing really cool.
I mean, you talk about rings culture. Medal culture is bigger in Europe than rings culture is in the NBA. There are guys, I had a Serbian tell me one time, he had Jokic like sixth in his all-time greatest Serbian players. And I said, come on, that's ridiculous. He said, yeah, he's got 0 golds. Bodiroga's got 8. That's the medal count. You stack those up. But the passion's fun. We're going to dive into it, though, now, because there are 2 games we're going to highlight, Lithuania and Finland, because I thought they had a very interesting just basketball discussion to be had in there. Later on, we'll get to Italy versus Spain, which just ended, and then we'll talk a little bit about stage setting, because I want people to get into this tournament because it is some good hoops. And this game, Lithuania versus Finland, is that the right final score there, James? 81-78. I thought it was a little bit more. That is 81-78. And here's what happened in this game. Lithuania dominated for the most part with size. They really were able to really put pressure on Larry Markkanen, who's averaging 32 points a game in the tournament so far. They threw everything at him. And then right at the start of the fourth quarter, Rokas Jokubaitis, who you might not know his name, but he was a guy that was a potential NBA player. He's a little bit older, 25, I believe, a little bit older guy, but really, really good player in the European circuit, tears his ACL, probably their best player, and Finland was able to come back. But Lithuania held on. But I just want to ask you real quick, that game to me was an interesting one because it was fast-paced. The ball just popped for both teams. It was like quick decision-making, not very much shot-making. I actually thought both teams kind of missed a lot of shots. But the pace of play, it was as if everybody sprinted up the floor, sprinted into screens, sprinted into cuts. It was just a full sprint the entire time, and the decision-making was so quick, and I thought it was enjoyable to watch.
The thing that you see with these teams, really all throughout this tournament, and it's typical for international play, they don't have that next level quickness amongst their guards typically to be able to take the ball and get into a creative change of direction dribble move and go by somebody, right?
Yep.
That they can't do that really. So they're more straight line dribble guys. And so they know if you're going to play that way and over dribble, the game is really going to get ugly and it's going to bog down. So they understand their limitations as players, and therefore they have to play a certain style of basketball that actually is really cerebral, and it requires an awful lot of reads and screens and cuts and ball reversals and a lot of touches on possessions. And it's from that standpoint, there's something really cool analytically that you can take out of it when you watch it, because it is different than an NBA game, an NBA style, where every trip up the floor, there's like 3 different guys typically that can catch the ball and just because of their athletic ability, handle and just burst, can just put it on the floor 3-4 times, change directions, and beat someone off the dribble. They don't really do that. They don't have that level of talent on the wings, or that level of athleticism, I should say. And so they have to play differently. They've adapted, and it leads to this style, which I think you're a big fan of, and I think I'm a big fan of, in terms of the passing, the movement, the screening, the cutting, the timing, and the ball does not hit the floor very much at all in these possessions.
And you said it's cerebral, and I think that's what I like, is that the decision making is what, and like everybody has to know what they're going to do with the ball within 1 second. And I like the way you framed it, because I think it's true. It's not just that it's a strength. Oh, they pass the ball well, they're smarter players. It's created of necessity. If they don't do that, there's nothing else to do. Oftentimes, throw it into a post. Can you score there? We don't know. Nobody can create. So it's out of necessity, but it does make for this really exciting basketball. But here's what was interesting about this one to me, because like I said, Lithuania controlled it until the fourth quarter. They lose their best guy, and that might have knocked them out of the tournament. I mean, they're going to make the elimination round, but I don't see them going far without Jokic. But what made this game interesting to me was Lauri Markkanen had 19 points, 9 of those in the fourth quarter. Lithuania switched everything. They said, you know what? In fact, it made the big fella, Big Valanciunas, it made him almost unplayable in this game. He didn't play a lot of minutes because they wanted to have a switchable lineup so that he could never run pick and roll and wiggle free. And then they put in the starting point a little pesky, I would say, Lithuanian Alex Caruso on him, and just said, you know what? Beat him up. Get physical. And by the way, the game is so much more physical in FIBA, I think. And he just gets physical fronting him. They brought a guy behind him, and they sandwiched him, a la the Oklahoma City Thunder did to Nikola Jokic, and just said, we will give up 4-on-3 to a Finnish team that doesn't have great creation and shot making. We'll give that up because we're not going to let you give the ball to Lauri Markkanen. And oh, by the way, every time you do get it to him, we're going to treat this like wrestling, and we're going to dare fouls to be called. It was unbelievably physical, and as great as Lauri Markkanen has been in this tournament, I thought he made good reads. I thought he did a lot of the right things, but he couldn't finish shots. He couldn't shake free. He struggled with that, and he had 10 points going into the fourth quarter.
And look, to your point, you've seen this on Jokic. And think about this. Jokic is out there playing with, 11 other NBA players on an active roster on a given night. He's playing with guys that have played in all-star games.
Right.
He's playing with guys that have won championship. And it's effective. It can be effective against that team. So imagine a team like Finland with Lauri Markkanen, and then the drop off to like the next guy. And so you're basically betting on the fact they don't have enough around him to really beat us by playing him that way. And he's not the most physical guy in the world, and he plays kind of upright offensively, so you can get into his legs a little bit, and it makes it a little bit harder for him. He only took 4 3-point shots in the game. He only made 1. That's a big part of his game. And he was not able to really even get the ball in those positions.
It.
So
yeah, not even the ball.
No, he couldn't even touch it where he needed to do damage. And when he did, he took a couple that were off balance because, again, he was just not in any sort of rhythm. I thought the defensive game plan on him was fantastic, and they were betting on the fact that they don't have enough around him to beat us. And if they had gotten a couple guys on that level that could do that, I'm sure you're going to have to change and adjust and switch. They decided to give it a shot, see how it looks, and turns out it was very effective, and it was a major difference in the game.
And some of the times I actually was very impressed with Lauri. He couldn't make shots. And I do think the physicality got to him. And like I said, this was a fast-paced game. So he's wrestling a bear on one end of the court, and then he's got to sprint all around the court defensively on the other end. I think it was exhausting, and he just was short-arming a lot of his shots. But I was impressed with some of the passes he made. So it was hard to get him the ball. And when you touch the ball, they're going to trap. No matter where you are on the floor, it's coming quick. And I actually thought he did a really good job of finding the open man. The open man couldn't make the shot, and that was the story of the game. But I'm so fascinated by Lauri Markkanen, watching him this summer, because to me, I see the makings of a guy. Like you say, oh, can he handle this? Can he handle that? He was handling the superstar treatment, I thought, in this game, other than the shot making and handling the physicality. The decision making, I thought he did a good job of.
No, I agree. And look, we've talked already about his situation in Utah, and we both are kind of like, man, he's one of those guys on a short list of guys around the league that are tantalizing talents that you go, man, I'd like to see this guy in a really highly competitive situation on a team that, like, a top 4 team in either conference that you think maybe as a contender, to see what a difference maker that he can be, because he's a very unique guy with his size and his ability to shoot the basketball and run the floor. But in this one, when you just going to, basically make him a target of what you're going to do defensively, and you don't have the dynamic guard play to figure out a way to beat that, to make a team pay, to loosen that up for him. It was Lithuania's best chance, and it paid off. There's a guy on their team, and he's really, I've seen him now. I've seen 3 of their games because I really mainly because I'm watching Markkanen more than anything else.
Yeah.
But Miikka Muurinen,
yes, Slim Jesus.
Like he's the next guy, like for them. They really hype him up, and
James's guy.
You can see why, man. Like I think he's still a teenager, I believe, correct?
He is. This is another reason to watch EuroBasket, by the way, because you have him, and then there's a guy on Spain, Sergio de la Raya. Both of them are prospects in next year's draft. They're going to be guys that are playing, and this is like high-level basketball. So you kind of get an early look at guys you're going to be talking about here in 9 months.
And it's crazy because you got Lauri Markkanen and you got Miikka Muurinen, right? So already right off the bat, you got like hey, these names, but it's the same physical profile. Yeah. He's like 6'11". He's built exactly the same. And you're think about this. Markkanen now has been around a little while. He's done some things in the league. He's put up big numbers. He's obviously a hero, I'm sure, in Finland. So this kid's probably been trying to be Lauri Markkanen. Like probably his whole life. Like this is the player. This is the guy that I want to be like. And it's crazy because he's got similar physical dimensions, and he is a very interesting prospect, man. First of all, he's got great confidence and aggressiveness. They're not playing him a ton. I think he played 14 minutes in this game. He didn't play a ton in any of the games I've watched, but when he has played, you really notice him because he's extremely active, and he's really long, and he's athletic. So young. I'm really interested and intrigued to see what he can become, 4 or 5 years from now.
Look it up if you haven't watched. If you're just kind of tuning in and trying to get the recap of it, look him up. Miikka Muurinen. It's going to be hard for you to spell. Finnish basketball player, Slim Jesus maybe, because he has a couple of highlight dunks in this thing already that are almost like Derek, because he's a skinny guy. He's almost like a Derek Jones Jr. type leaper where he's a skinny guy and just explodes. Pretty interesting guy. I want to get into now. So Lithuania gets the win, but they lose their best player. Finland, I enjoy watching them, but I don't think they're going to go too far. Lauri Markkanen, if he gets 1 or 2 upsets in this tournament, I think it's going to make waves, and he's good enough to do it because he's playing so well. But I wanted to tell you, because we were almost arguing about this, there's some things about EuroBasket style basketball that I love even more than the NBA. And we already mentioned the first one, but the quickness of the reads, I understand what you're saying about, talent sometimes negates this, and you don't want Luka getting the ball out of his hands in 0.5 seconds. You want him to have the ball and to decide. So it's not true of everyone. But I do love when teams are able to stack reads on top of each other. And I thought Finland and Lithuania both did an incredible job of this, where when you're running an offense, you can set the screen, you can ghost the screen or slip into the pocket, you can ghost it and flare out to the other side, you can flip it. I think that watching these teams, not just those two, but a lot of them, they're able to stack so many different actions on top of each other that you really don't know what's going to happen. One screen, then ghost, and the other one comes and then doesn't work out. And you get to the pocket, it immediately goes to the other side, right into another action. And it just feels like the game never stops. It feels like a play that has 40 different parts to it, but it's just guys reading and reacting. And I love watching that kind of basketball.
That's a great point. And I'll tell you something else that I notice about these games, as opposed to what I watch every night when I'm looking at NBA basketball. When teams have numbers in transition in this tournament, they're trying to get layups.
Yeah.
They don't. You don't see the 3-on-1 with 2 dudes fanning out to the wings, and where for a fact from the time they pick the ball up and you can see the advantage, there's going to be a 3-point shot taken on this possession. Yeah. That's the other thing. Like it's almost like that part of the mentality, which even a guy like me, my age, like that's what you always were taught kind of growing up, was to get the best shot and kind of transition. That this should be a layup or a wide open short jump shot or something. And you're totally just reading a defense's ability to stop the ball or not. And then you make a read off of when they stop the ball and you try to get a layup. And I was noticing that. So it's kind of refreshing a little bit that it's not as predictable as a lot of NBA transition, where you can just see guys now running to the corners, running out to the wings even when there's a man advantage or two-man advantage sometimes. That's something else I've noticed about these games. Like they're trying to still put pressure on you. It's almost like the old 2-on-1, 3-on-2 drill,
Yeah.
right? Where you're forcing them to stop the ball and then you make the pass after the ball is stopped. But you don't pick your dribble up until that ball is stopped. And once it's stopped, you hit the wing, and then that guy's either got a layup, or if that back guy commits out, there's one more pass and there's another layup from
Right.
the other wing. Right. So it's like a typical drill you learn. And I feel like a lot of these transition breaks when I'm watching them, it feels like that's still their mentality, is to get that type of shot as opposed to the prototypical 3-point shot in transition in the NBA.
And to be clear, I think we both like the NBA more than the FIBA game or the European game, but there are parts. It's like I like the game as a whole, so there are parts of it that I like more than others, and that's one of them. I'll give you another one. Lithuania in this game did not start Valanciunas. They did start him in the previous games. A lot of teams do this. They don't have a fixed starting lineup. They mix it up. Good players come off the bench. Manu Ginobili with the Spurs for most of his career came off the bench, even though he was arguably the second or third best player on that team. And I kind of like it. I think it's because the game goes so fast. It's only 40 minutes that it's almost like you're strategic, not just in who's the best guys and this or that, but it's like, how do I make 40 minutes where we never dip? We have somebody on the floor. So I like this idea of how many teams use one of their top players as a bench guy, not as a starter.
I like that too. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're 100% right. And there's a selflessness that comes with playing on these teams for the NBA players. There really is. Now, if you're a superstar in your prime, it's a little bit different. Everything is still about you. Luke is a great example of that, right? Marketing to a certain extent with Finland, but there's a lot of other guys who've been around a while in the NBA that are playing on these teams that now understand, in order to give them the best chance and to make this work, they almost have to take on a different type of role with the team and accept it. So that's a good point, because it's much harder to get guys in the NBA to buy into that. I mean, heck, you even see guys in the NBA miss months, come back first game they start.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
like, in fact, they don't even come back until they're able to go ahead and start. It's kind of crazy. Like, and that's just like the mentality around basketball at the NBA level, or probably anywhere with big time players, high school, AAU, college, the same thing. It is a different mentality with the role that these guys take on.
It'd almost be like Jalen Williams on Oklahoma City if he came off the bench, just 4 or 5 minutes into the game, not a lot, but just, hey, so then you have to game plan for Oklahoma City, and then all of a sudden 4 minutes into the game, everything changes, and now you have to change it. It's just, the game is shorter. It lends itself to that, the FEMA game, but I think it's really neat. And then I'll say this one, big man touch around the basket. And this is another skill set that is, I think, bred from a weakness. The guys are just not as athletic across the board. The athleticism is down a level or two. And as a result, you get a bunch of these guys, Vucevic and Big Val and Jokic. And there just seems to be, every team has one or two guys that when they go to that little flip hook from about 6 feet, it's automatic. And it almost feels like every team has one of them. And I like it. It's just fun to watch.
That's a good point, man. And it's funny you say that, because you're right. I'm watching these games, and obviously some of these guys I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
But you're watching them, and it's like it's amazing. Like their ability to finish and their efficiency for the number of touches they get in the paint and what they end up doing with that. It's really high level efficiency, because they have mastered other ways to get their shots off quickly without a lot of verticality, understanding leverage and how to use their body to create the angle to get the shot off. The ball goes in, by the way, to the post a lot in these games, a lot. And probably even in a lot of ways, a lot more even than a typical NBA game, because a lot of the back to the basket guys that are comfortable doing that, there's not that many of them in the league that are actual big guys. There's more wings comfortable backing guys down than post players. But for these guys, it's more strategically, they want the ball to go in there because they understand defensively on the perimeter how you have to turn and sort of look down there. And that's when the action is taking place out on the perimeter. In some ways, similar to what Golden State does with their guard split action. That's very, very typical of international teams. The ball going in, even if that guy's not a big threat, they want the defense to have to at least acknowledge that. It's much harder now to look down at the ball and maintain contact with your guy who's about to move, cut, set a screen, get a screen, set a flare, whatever it may be. And it's a big part of what they're trying to do strategically, is enter that ball into the post And some of these guys do know what to do with it. Others, you could tell they're just doing it to trigger some other action.
Do you think that some of this has to do with how hard they cut? I mean, I was just talking about how it's a full sprint for these guys. They're like running into everything. And you give it to the post, to your point, defense has to turn their head. In the NBA, it's about spacing, and guys will kind of cut through, and maybe one guy kind of darts through, and everybody else slides their feet around or whatever.
Listen, I,
These
I
guys are
think so.
sprinting.
And this lends itself, I don't know if we're going to do it today, when you want to do it, a great Limoges story.
Oh, man.
You just triggered an incredible memory that I had of practicing against this guy on my team in Limoges. I don't know when you want to do it. If you want to do it today or save it.
Go for it, man. How can we save it? We got to hear
You're talking about these hard cutters, right? So I get over to Limoges, and first practice guarding this guy. I still remember his name, Frank Lejeune. Never forget the guy. You're talking, I'm 33 years removed from doing this, and I still remember this guy like it was yesterday. And he barely played for us. So first practice, and we're scrimmaging, and I'm guarding this guy, and a guy could run like a deer and like never stopped running, moving, cutting. And I'm chasing this guy all over the place, and it's the same thing. All these perimeters, screens, flare screens, dribble handoffs, like you're chasing this guy around. And I did this for like half a practice. And then I realized he had no idea really how to play basketball. So what I did was I gave him the boomerang treatment. So like I'd be in the lane with him, and he'd cut really hard out one side of the lane. And early in the practice, I was chasing him all the way around the perimeter, all the way to the other side of the floor. I started to realize he doesn't know that he's open. So I just stopped and waited. And sure enough, if I just waited 5-6 seconds, he would make his way back around to me in the lane, and I was able to conserve some energy. So he was out there running around and didn't really know how to read defenses and screens yet. And that was my first introduction to like, first of all, before I got there, they start training camp in August. I didn't join the team till February. They go up in the mountains and they run up mountains. Like this is their training and stuff.
Wow. Like Rocky IV.
All of these guys, all of them could run all day long, man. And you had 10 guys on a team. So you're scrimmaging. There's no subs. You're never coming out. These are 2.5, 3-hour scrimmages, and you're chasing these guys nonstop. I was in the best shape of my life coming back from that 4 months in France. I'm telling you, in large part because of guys like Frank Lejeune.
I love it, man. That is a great story. And you're right. I thought that watching that Lithuania-Finland game is I was like, how are these guys not tired? Because that pace and that tempo, I don't think most NBA guys would play at that speed for more than 4 minutes without collapsing. I got two more little ones for you before we go to break. Second to last one, the ball. Just like the ABA, I think the ABA basketball is the greatest basketball it's ever been because of the multicolor, and when you throw it off the glass, it twirls and it just looks nice. I like that the EuroBasket ball has a little white to it because there's so many little spins off the glass that just looks so much better when you can see the white spinning. Are you with me?
This is the one thing we are dramatically going to disagree on.
No way!
Hate a multicolored basketball. Hate it.
Why?
And I played in a league. The very first professional paycheck I ever got was a league called the World Basketball League. It doesn't exist anymore. It existed for maybe 10 years. It was a 6'4" and under league. And I left LaSalle. I went right to Youngstown, Ohio, and I played for the Youngstown Pride. We ended up winning a championship with that team. It was a lot of fun. But think about it. 5 guys on the court for both sides. Everybody's 6'4" and under. How fast the game was. But the reason I bring it up, the ball, because it was called the World Basketball League, had the globe on it. Like a map of the globe was on the ball. Yeah. And I remember then, and I ever since said to myself, I hate basketballs that don't look like a normal NBA or college basketball. So I'm not with you on that one. I don't like the multicolored ball. I didn't like the ABA ball. I don't like that stuff. We're different that way.
I think the chat's going to be with me on this. I think the comments are going to be, Legs isn't right about everything. He has one bad take, the basketball. It's the best
Although
basketball.
I will say this, in my house, the night I won the 3-point shootout, the money ball was the only ball in the rack that was a multicolored ball. It was teal, white, and black for San Antonio was hosting, and I made 13 out of 15 money balls in the 3 rounds. So maybe I do like shooting with those kind of balls. I just don't like watching them.
Spinning. in the air when you let it go and you see it spin like that, man, it looks incredible. The other thing, and I'll just tease it before we go to break here, the pageantry of the coaches is hilarious. And you mentioned one of them, Gianmarco Pazzacecco. Is that, I don't know how to say his name, but he's the Italian coach who is full of personality. And I want to talk about him on the other side because it is almost a character in the theater that is every time Team Italy plays. We'll get to that on the other side. All right, let me tell you guys about Shady Rays. You guys know that moment. The one when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away. I've been there too. This is a true story. This is a true story. I have had Shady Rays now for 2 years. I think they've been a sponsor like that. I started, I think, with 4 pair. I got like a nice, nice order there. I've probably gotten 14 pairs out of Shady Rays because they have this great plan for you. You can't find them, or maybe you broke them and you want to get them back. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, whenever. And this is actually true too, man. I do forget things a lot. Like I don't carry a lot of things in my pocket. I don't carry a bag. I don't have any of that stuff. So I don't like to take things because I'm afraid if it's something that's out of the ordinary, I'm going to set it down somewhere and never get it back. Shady Rays does have you covered there because you can take it wherever you want. And if you lose them or break them, you'll get them back. And they have a great selection. I wear aviators, navigators, and a couple other ones if I'm going hiking or whatever. But they have every style you can want, every color you could want, so you can pick them out. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. You can try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Also want to tell you about the presenting sponsor, FanDuel. It's the best place to find all of your favorite player props. And now you can make the smarter play with new performance trends. You want to see if a guy's been hitting that over consistently, or maybe they've been flirting with a potential triple-double. Get the latest stats right inside the app and see who's heating up. And once the game starts, that's when things get interesting. You can combine live prop bets in the same game parlay for a chance to win big. If you don't already have FanDuel, it's not too late to get in on the action. You get started with $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, back here, segment 2, final segment of the All-NBA show for today. Do you have a favorite basketball, Legs? Is it the official NBA ball? Is there one that you like that you always want to shoot with?
Yes, my favorite basketball I think I've ever shot in my life is the Evolution.
Yeah, I like that one.
Right, it's just it's so grippy, and it just comes off so good, man. And like they still make them, and I use them a lot at my basketball camp. They're like a little bit more expensive than some of the other balls that I could buy for a basketball camp like that. But I just believe in the ball so much. I've spent a lot of money on the years stocking up those things for my camp, and I still think it might be the sweetest feeling ball I've ever practiced with.
It's easier to grip, so you can palm it almost easier. And then to your point, like shooting mechanics and stuff, you can just feel everything perfectly, so you feel like you're always on it. I think a real NBA basketball, an official one, it's so tight. I have a hard time palming it. I mean, I could palm every other basketball, but those ones can be tight, and it's almost more impressive how well a player like Kyrie can handle with that ball because I think it's so slippery.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this last game here that we're going to talk about. Italy defeats Spain today, 67-63, in which was a fantastic game. Santi Aldama had 19 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Simone Fontecchio, who really Italy has to rely on to have a great game, did not. 8 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. So this was a big one. What stood out to you?
I think that point right there, look, some of these teams, they've got certain guys, they don't have a chance to win unless they play well.
Yeah.
Aldama did his part. He's expected to play like that. 19 and 10. He's even in the NBA level. He's a very good rebounder for his size for his sort of build at the small forward spot. one of Memphis's better rebounders. He played well. He did his part. Uh, Fontecchio had to be better than that. You can't give him 8 points. In a game that's that tight, you're talking about a few possessions difference for him. He just never really got it going at all. He struggled early, didn't get a lot of shots. And that to me was the number one thing for Italy and why they struggled in this game. Fontecchio has to be better.
Were you impressed with the two teams? Because these two teams are sort of, I don't want to say middle in the road, but they're also not top tier. They're good, but not great teams for the EuroBasket competition. And I look at both of them more as upset teams. When we get to the knockout stage, can they knock off a Germany or a Serbia or a Greece or one of those teams? So were you impressed, with what you saw out of either of them?
I was impressed with how physical and tough they were. Both of these teams really got
Yeah.
after defensively. They're very, very physical. So that was impressive. Do you think about what Spain's roster used to look like in a lot of these tournaments? I mean, it
Yeah,
was loaded with
phenomenal.
NBA players. Yeah, loaded with NBA players. Italy, even in the past, has had more than that. You still have Gallinari on this team, but he's obviously at the very end of his career. So Fontecchio is really like the big name for Italy. So I was a little bit surprised by that. I hadn't really seen either one of these teams play very much until the game today. So I didn't really know like who was on their rosters, and I was kind of like waiting for like, okay, where are the other NBA guys? And there really weren't any in terms of guys that have already established themselves as NBA players or have a profile there. Some of these guys, maybe can get there. I don't know how old some of these players are. Maybe they have a chance down the road. But typically, Spain in particular has put rosters in international competition that typically have more talent, more guys with NBA experience.
Italy has had some upsets in previous years. I mean, they can play spoiler. To me, they almost remind me of the tournament mid-major team that just has a bunch of speed and three-point shooting. Where if they're going to lose, they're probably going to lose good. But you catch them on the wrong night, and they're gonna get you. And that's kind of how I think of them. And so I am. And they started, by the way, to open this game. What was it? 13-0. I mean, they were in a hole immediately in this game, and I thought it was going to be over, but they battled back and then pulled it out. I do want to ask you one other question, though, about this game, and that is the coach there, Gianmarco Pizzecco. This guy, all the character coaches you've ever seen in the NBA, Doug Moe's my favorite, of course, being here in Denver. This guy, man, is the main character of every Italian game because he is so loud, so expressive. He got kicked out of a game in the last EuroBasket against Serbia, and he did a whole lap around the stadium before leaving, like waving to the crowd and then started crying. He is an unbelievable character, and if you watch any game with Italy, he is at any point doing something absolutely ridiculous.
And there was a momentous play in this game at the end that really, to me, prevented Spain from having a chance to win. And ended up being a flagrant foul on Spain in the backcourt after a missed shot in a one-possession game. They overreacted to the miss. They run up on the ball handler. They just deck them, and they get a flagrant foul called, which gave Spain 2 free throws in the ball. Gave Italy 2 free throws in the ball, and it pretty much ended the game. And their coach, the contact was right in front of him. And before, I think the whistle even blew, he jumped up, his hands, he's running out on the court, his sport coat, the back of his sport coat's flying around, and his assistant coach was just trying to grab him. And the officials, they called the foul, but now it was a matter of going over and looking at the review, and then they come up with the flagrant foul.
Yeah.
By the way, that triggered something else. You know what else I love about these games? When they go over to look at a review, they are mic'd up during the conversation.
Yes.
During the
Isn't that
conversation, not just leaning into the monitor like we get at an NBA game, once they've talked it all out. And then that one head official looks into the monitor, right? And we all hear his ruling. These guys are talking it through, mic'd up.
Yeah.
So you can hear exactly the way they're breaking it down. And by the way, they don't have a headset on talking to Secaucus. All right, this is just these guys. And there's one head official, and in this particular game, it was an American official, and he's just literally talking through. Okay, let me see this. I want this camera angle. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, pan out, tighten in right now.
Is the contact incidental? Is it? Yeah,
very,
they're
very cool, Adam. I thought it was so cool, and it's about 3 or 4 of those I've seen now that I happened to catch when I was watching these games, to watch that process and listen to how they're reasoning their way through it. and then
Yeah.
ultimately the conclusion they come up with. I think it's pretty cool. Talk about transparency. That's the ultimate in transparency. It's not just the end, because think about an NBA game. 3 officials come together. Well, 2 of them are over at the monitor, but all 3 have some input. They talk it out. Then you've got the headset. They're talking to Secaucus. There's more people giving them input on the call. And then after they take the headset off, the 3 officials confer again in silence, just the 3 of them whispering to each other. And then we get the ruling. You don't really know how they came to that conclusion necessarily, unless we have an official on the broadcast like Steve Javi or somebody. Then we can bring him in from Secaucus and Steve walk us through that. That's very helpful. We get 1 or 2 of those a game. I just think that's pretty amazing and fascinating that these guys are willing to just, we're willing to let them be mic'd up for the world to hear. Like we're going to talk our way through this and let you know exactly how we're rationing our rationale behind it. And then you make your ruling, and it's the ultimate in transparency and coming to that conclusion.
All right, let's wrap up today by kind of looking ahead, because I know a lot of people are wondering about EuroBasket. This is the time to get in, because pool play, all right, you got some bad. I mean, there's like 6 teams in this tournament, legs, that are just so horrible. Every time they're on, it's a 40-point loss. So you get some of these big time duds, but it gets serious going forward. And let's take a look at the pool. There's 4 different pools. We'll start with Group A, and you have Turkey and Serbia both undefeated so far. This one's going to be great. Şengün, Jokic. It's obviously a great head-to-head matchup. Serbia lost Bogdan Bogdanovic, so they're now down a guy. I think they were favorites coming into the tournament, but now I don't know. And even in tomorrow's game, I think it's good. Turkey has a great chance of getting the upset in that one. So that will be for the 1 seed. And that means if you get a 1 seed, you kind of get a first round, not a bye, but you get a pretty easy first round matchup before it gets serious. And from there, you only have to win 3 more. And then you see Latvia, Estonia, Portugal, and Czech. So tomorrow, 2:25 Eastern time, Turkey versus Serbia. That is the game of the day, because I think it not only has a great matchup with 2 teams that need it, but Jokic and Şengün, to me, is really exciting to watch.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's awesome. Both those rosters are impressive. They've got 2 legit stars on those teams. Serbia with a superstar. That is obviously, and it's cool that it worked out this way, that they don't get to play each other till the end. And both they've run the table in the pool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great one. So that alone is worth it. And then, of course, whichever one loses, that one's going to have a tougher route, going forward. They'll have a tough first round game in the tournament next week, or this weekend rather. So let's go to Group B here. As we look at favorites, Germany to me has been the most impressive and complete team. You see that plus 134 difference, dominant. And then you have this jumbled mess in the middle. Finland has to play Germany tomorrow. Germany needs the win to seal, obviously, the group. So that's going to be a big one. Finland hanging for their life, because Lithuania with that same record, and Montenegro plays Great Britain, who, look at that difference there, legs minus 136. They get killed every single game. So Lithuania almost certainly going to beat Sweden and go to 4-1. Montenegro almost certainly going to win and go to 3-2. Finland has to get a win tomorrow, or else they're going to fall in the standings. So I like it. I think this entire group here sets up for some interesting games.
And that's going to be very difficult for Finland to beat Germany. So I think you're looking at
Very
Lithuania
difficult.
having the inside track there with Germany. I think that's probably how that's going to play out.
They lost, though, their best player, like I said, Jokic. So they are a shell of themselves. He was the ball handler, scorer, creator. You saw them collapse in the 4th quarter against Finland when he went out. So as much as I agree with you, we'll see what happens, because I think they are a completely different team without their lead guard. All right, what else we got? Group C. Group C has Greece. Greece dropped a game to Bosnia. Bosnia and Herzegovina, when Giannis did not play for a knee injury, a very mysterious one, legs, which sets up Spain versus Greece. You just saw Spain fall to 2-2. They're hanging on not only just to make it, in a good standing, but also just to make it to the next round. And then Greece, hopefully gets Giannis back. That one will be great. And then Bosnia, Georgia is right there in the middle as well. Both of those teams trying to get in. So you get 2 games tomorrow, Spain versus Greece, which will have some NBA talent, including Giannis, and then 2 other teams that are desperate. I think this will also make for great Thursday basketball.
Spain, Greece will be great. But the one thing I'm going to predict, the most important thing on that screen, pop that up one more time, James. I think the thing that jumped out to me the most, Italy, Cyprus. I am laying the points. I don't know what the point spread is. I don't know how much Italy's favored to beat Cyprus, but I'm telling you, lay the points. Get on your betting app, whatever it is, lay those points. Italy's going to cover. That's my prediction.
Cyprus, Iceland, Great Britain. There's a handful of teams that I don't know how they got in there. And there's some teams that didn't make it. Croatia, that I think would have been much more competitive. All right. And the last one, just to set the stage, France, Israel, Poland, 3-1. And you get some nice matchups. France should destroy Iceland. They're another one that's going to be pretty tough. Israel, Slovenia. Look at Slovenia down here with Luka Doncic. They need a win. Are they going to be a 4 seed going into the tournament? Even a 3 seed, that's tough. So this one is setting up as well for at least one game. That Slovenia-Israel game should be a fascinating one. And Luka, when you tell me Luka now knows that his back is against the wall, I imagine he's going to have a great night.
No question. It's interesting that none of those 3-1 teams are playing each other. Like, it worked out. All 3 of those teams are now playing teams are expected to beat. So that's going to be interesting. And is the tiebreaker the point differential?
That's why you have it. And that's another thing I love about it. They do this in the in-season tournament as well, but you see these games that are 35 points with 5 minutes to go, and the winning team's bombing threes trying to run up the score. So, yep, point differential matters a lot.
And look, it'll be different in this one. There's no feelings are going to get hurt because no one's going to care about the other person's feelings. You remember, this caused a little bit of controversy in the NBA with the in-season tournament because it's the same format. You remember? And you had teams up big, like putting their starters back in the game, trying to run up the score a little bit. We've seen that a couple of times. No one's going to care. No one cares about feelings in this type of tournament. So, but it will be interesting to see how that plays out because the point differential for the top couple teams there is very, very close.
I love it, man. I like the point differential aspect of this. And like I said, the tournament starts on, I believe, Saturday. But these last 2 games are going to set the stage. So there's a lot to play for. So if you were thinking of tuning in, that Courtside 1891 app, $20, you get access to all of the games. And I think it's worth it because you get to watch Luka, Giannis, Jokic, and a whole host of other NBA players, Lowry Markkanen. And this is with their back against the wall. It's fun to watch. All right, cue that outro music. We've got one super chat there, James. James says, okay, taking tomorrow off and headed to DNVR for Serbia versus Turkey. Oh, what a game. Down at the DNVR bar.
What time is that game? What time's that game tipping in Denver?
12 o'clock. So that's a perfect. You take a little lunch break. You just come back a little late. Nobody ever knows.
No, that's great. I love that, man. I wish I was closer. I'd join them.
Man, I'm telling you, these get fun. These games, because we got a lot of people that come out to watch Jokic for them. So it makes for a really fun environment. Everybody, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Obviously, it's the NBA offseason, not a lot to talk about, but Legs and I, we're basketball junkies. So if basketball's on, we're going to be talking about it. We will be back Thursday, and then next week as the tournament begins, 3 shows in between every round as we recap what happens round by round. This is where we really get to dive into it and kind of walk you through it. It should be fun. If you're a hoops junkie, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button. See you next time.
Silly like the mayor.